Hey everyone, Dylan here, and I know it's been a minute since I've uploaded. There's many reasons for that. I have my air on, so hopefully it's not too loud or too noisy or whatever. It got really hot all of a sudden, and the weather is weird, so yeah. But anyways, the reason why I haven't uploaded in a little bit is because my attention has been taken away, basically, for a couple things. So one, I've had a hobby of producing music for many years, and I recently decided to maybe really try to work on it and learn the more technical side of things to maybe be able to do it maybe even part-time. So I've been studying that and really focusing on that. And then I took a whole week to produce an instrumental for my now wife, because that was her wedding present, because I also had a wedding and got married. So that was something I also did. And so I was very busy then. And so, kind of taking the week after that to... basically then after that, a week later... is my birthday, so lots of stuff going on, right? And so I've been really busy, but I started coming up with more video ideas, and now I'm recording them here, and I don't know how consistent I will be, but we'll do our best. And so that's kind of where I've been, and so hopefully everyone's doing well. So I just wanted to throw that out if anyone was wondering where I've been. But just remember, this is a hobby channel for me, so if I don't upload for a little bit, it's because, this isn't my job or anything, so, I'm not taking it that seriously. I am, but I'm not. So yeah. Anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 favorite Final Fantasy games. Jeez, that was a mouthful. Anyways, so I will put a disclaimer right now. I have not beaten more than one Final Fantasy game fully. So these opinions of mine are just those of, I've at least played a couple hours of each of these, bare minimum. So I've gotten most of what this game is like and about. Obviously there might be some stuff I might not miss, or might not know about, or might have missed, or so. But I'm just wanting you to know where I'm basing where these rankings are from my own experiences. And I might even say how far I played in some of these. So, yeah. Anyways, let's just get started with my number 5. Which, my number 5 is Final Fantasy VII. And there's a real interesting story around Final Fantasy VII for me. And I wasn't one of those people who played it in the beginning when it first came out. Or anything like that. I played it way later, probably when the PS, by the time the PS2 had been out for a while. Maybe even, I might have even had the PS3, or at least seen the PS3 at this point. But what ended up happening was I went to a game store, and this guy really was overhyping Final Fantasy VII. He's like, "Oh man, it's the greatest in the series," and this and that, and I hadn't played any of the other Final Fantasies below stuff on the PS2. I never played any of the PS1 Final Fantasy games. So yeah, he was hyping it up, and it's so great, and then I bought it. And let's just say he overhyped it. He overhyped it a lot, and a lot of people overhyped Final Fantasy VII for me. And like I said, at this point, I was used to PS2 graphics, maybe even PS3 graphics. I don't remember if I had a PS3 at this point, but I was definitely used to PS2. So I, got it. I was excited. I put it in, and the graphics looked like dog shit. I'm just what? What is this? This looks like crap. How is this game so great? And I don't remember how much I played of it then. Because I did play it another time after this, but this was the first time I played it. I played a little bit of the beginning of the game. I don't remember exactly. I know we at least saw the first big cutscene of the ceiling of the the sky or whatever. You gotta forgive me, it's been a long time since I played it. But I think that's as far as I played up to for the first time, and it was just awful. I even returned it. I returned the game. I'm like, brah, this game is like not it. It looks like crap, and like it's like I was really disappointed. He overhyped it, and I think that's where I got my expectations like ruined on that. So for a while, Final Fantasy VII to me was, not that great. It was overhyped. I didn't understand why people liked it so much. And then eventually, I ended up playing the older Final Fantasies, right? I played 5, I played 6, eventually played I think I played like an hour of the first one, Final Fantasy 1, which was, not bad. Then I played like 20 minutes of Final Fantasy 2, did not like that. I think I played like an hour or 2 of Final Fantasy 4. And then I played like, Final Fantasy 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And, but what made me reappreciate 7 for what it was because I had played 6. And also I was older. I was a little bit older by then, so I was probably, a little more mature. So, whenever I went from 6 to 7, I finally got it. I was like, okay. I can see how going from 6 to 7 was a big jump at the time, right? It may not stand up now, or even at the time when I played it, it was bad. But at the time, I'm sure it looked amazing, right? It's like, holy crap, 3D models and stuff. So I was able to appreciate it a little bit more for its importance there. And it's like going from PS1 to PS2. The graphics are way better, and so I was able to appreciate it there. And then I ended up playing it. This is gonna be a long top 5 video. Sorry, I apologize for that. Yeah. So and then I gave it another chance, and I played up to. They call it the train graveyard, I think. I don't know if that's actually what it was called, but it explains it best. Where there were all these all these tracks and trains and all that stuff. And I got somewhat far into it, and then I ended up dying. I got mad, and I just never picked it back up. No particular reason, but from what I played of Final Fantasy VII, I got the gist of it. The more mechanical world that it was in, and so I could understand why people liked it and appreciated it. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it that made it even more made it even more better than what I experienced. But I experienced enough to understand why people like it, and from where it's coming from. So that's why it's my number 5. So next is my number 4, and my number 4 is Final Fantasy V, and that might surprise some people a little bit, but I actually really liked Final Fantasy V. It's like very simple and simplicity, and the graphics aren't the greatest, but there was many things about it that I liked. So I liked I liked the characters. I thought the characters were fun. I liked the music. I just liked being able to explore around everywhere, and there's some places you could go that you have no reason to ever go there, and they have nothing there's no reason to go there, but you can, and there you can find some cool stuff and find different espers, and it's really cool. And I also liked the job system. You really can't talk about Final Fantasy V and not talk about its main thing, the job system, which gives it more replayability. And because everything's so simple, it's a more simple, solid game. You want to replay it a couple times to, play different job roles. And I think that was really fun and great. And just all around, I had a lot of fun. I played up to, for Final Fantasy V, hopefully this isn't a spoiler, but if it is, I played the first world. So I played the first world, and then I was on my way to the next world, and then I think that's where I stopped playing. Yeah, so that's where I got it, but it is really fun, and I really like Final Fantasy V. Simple is not always bad. Next is my third. God, I gotta get back into the swing of things here. Number 3, Final Fantasy IX. So, Final Fantasy IX, I played the first disc of Final Fantasy IX, and I really liked Final Fantasy IX. I liked, I heard that people, and I played all these later on, right? Not when they first came out or anything. I heard, like, some people were put off by the art style of Final Fantasy IX, and I don't really get it. Like, I thought that, like, it was fine for what it was, and again, I have to reiterate this. If anyone is wondering how am I talking about video games and how things look if I'm blind, I went blind at 22, alright? I was not blind my whole life, so that's how I know. Just kind of throwing that out there, a friendly reminder. But anyways, yeah. So, I thought the art style was fine and fun, and the characters were fun. Zidane or Zidane, however you pronounce the name, was cool. Steiner, I just remember him being called Rusty a lot. And just like, it had great cool characters. It was funny. There was some good comedy moments. There was what's it called? The time events or something like that. I think that's what they're called, where you could see what other characters are doing. That was a really cool addition. I really liked oh my god, I liked the music, the medieval, like, sounding like music to set the theme and how everything looked. It was just a really fun game, you know? Nothing crazy, but also it was just good, all around good, and I liked what I played. I honestly, there was no particular reason why I stopped playing it. I remember after getting to the second disc, which I did get to, I was in this area where I had went to. There was this guy who said, "Oh, don't go here because there are dragons," and I was cocky and was like, "I'll bet I can beat the dragon." So I get into a fight, and there was the dragon, and he whooped my, you know, I should have listened, right? And I think after he killed me, I saved. And then I just kind of stopped. I wasn't mad or anything. I stopped playing. You know, it just kind of happens. You just kind of drop it for no particular reason. So, kind of wish I would have finished it, because I liked what I played of it a lot. But that is Final Fantasy IX, and that is my number 3. And next is my number 2, which is Final Fantasy XII Remastered. So I hear some people might be a little upset by this, and I'm gonna explain myself why Final Fantasy XII might be number 2. I'm gonna tell you right out. It's definitely not for the story, definitely not for the characters. It is for the gameplay, the battle system, the world, and the dope soundtrack. That is why I love Final Fantasy XII, because I honestly am one of the people who actually like turn-based battle systems. I really love turn-based. There's just something about it I really like, just be able to chill. It's more, you know, you can be more chill about it and think about what you're gonna do. And Final Fantasy XII has this nice balance of you kind of have this real active time kind of battle in a sense, but when you're choosing your commands, what you're gonna do, and you can choose when to like pause stuff to bring this menu up, it gives you a second to think about what you're gonna do. Of course, you even have a gauge that has to build up before you can do anything, like a cooldown meter, as it were. And so it had this nice balance that I really liked. Also, the enemies were all on screen, so it wasn't like random encounters, so it just was perfect for the gameplay. I really liked it, and it was a perfect balance. It was refreshing. I just loved it a lot. And so just with the gameplay itself, it had, you know, the license board stuff, it had the items that you could collect, and it was really fun for grinding and getting stuff. The world was, like, especially in the remastered version, to be real fair, the last game that I played the most before I went blind, well, besides Trails of Cold Steel, was Final Fantasy XII Remastered, and on the PS4. And I loved it. The worlds were beautiful and big and broad, and you could go pretty much anywhere you wanted. Like maybe to your dismay and peril, you could go wherever you wanted. You might have walked into the Fey Wood and saw the monsters there. It's like, I'm not supposed to be here. Or I don't know, just going to areas where the monsters levels are insane, and you panic and try. You're like, I'm going to die here. But you can go anywhere for the most part, as long as you're strong enough and can survive the attempt. And so I really love that. Just the world exploration, and then the soundtrack is a banger. Like, it's so good. The soundtrack is like just amazing with all the areas that you go to. Like, it just makes everything more epic and amazing, and just adds on to the world itself, with the world being cool, and then the music adding on to it, and just the exploration. It's just really great, and I really love it. And then the having the Zodiac, not the Zodiac, being able to choose jobs. You got to choose 2 different jobs in Final Fantasy 12, not all at once, and it just gave it a lot more playability, right? You're like, okay, well, what if I choose these 2 different things next time, or so it lets you play around more, and it's a lot more fun, and I really enjoyed it. So those are just a lot of the reasons why I love Final Fantasy 12, and because they're just so great, they kind of overcome the not so great story. Like, the story's fine, I guess. I don't really care about it. I don't even remember what it was about, to be honest. Does anyone else feel the same way? If they didn't really care about the story of Final Fantasy 12, let me know in the comments below, because I just don't remember it, because I didn't care. And most of the characters weren't that great. I mean, Bosch, I think is his name, and Balthier, those were 2 cool characters. And I mean, the rest were kind of like meh. I mean, there were some cool characters here and there, but mainly the main cast wasn't that great. But besides those, just everything else was just so fun. The gameplay aspect of Final Fantasy 12 is amazing, so that's why it's my number 2. Next, my number 1, which is the only Final Fantasy game I've actually beaten. Final Fantasy 12, I'm gonna be honest, I actually got to the final area of the game, to where there's like no point of return. I just didn't finish it, because I was like doing side quest stuff, and I just like, I just ended up watching it on YouTube. I watched the ending of Final Fantasy 12, so I have seen it. I just didn't end up playing it, but I played everything else but that. So I got the whole experience of Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 10 is my number 1. This is the first Final Fantasy game I played, and I beat it many times. I owned it on PS2, I owned the digital version on PS3, and I owned the PS4 version with a physical copy, because I loved Final Fantasy X so much. I might, instead of gushing about it here, I might make a video on it on its own, talking about it and my experiences, because I don't want this video to go on too long. Top 5s are typically supposed to be short, but I wanted to explain where some of my things are from that. But yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll make a separate video talking about Final Fantasy X and why I love it and all that, just so I don't make this one any longer than it needs to be. But anyways, yes. So my number 1 is Final Fantasy X. I love it. Those who know it will know why. But yeah, recap, number 5 is Final Fantasy VII. Number 4 is Final Fantasy V. Number 3, Final Fantasy IX. Number 2, Final Fantasy XII. And then number 1, Final Fantasy X. That is my top 5 favorite Final Fantasy games. In the comments below, let me know what your favorite Final Fantasy game is, and what your experiences were and your feelings on things were. I'd be really interested to hear that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for listening. I will see you in the next video.